1, 2, 3, 4. Devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
Devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
He roams around with sticks and stones, passing out his moans and groans. Devil ain't no lazy bones. He works 24 hours a day. Devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
No, the devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
He likes to see us fight and fuss, makes us mean enough to cuss, and then he blames it all on us who work 24 hours a day. He travels like a lightning streak and he strikes from town to town. Then he gets you when you're weak and tear your playhouse down. Devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
No, the devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
Tells us he won't hurt a fly, but then he makes us steal a night. Keeps us sinning until we die. He works 24 hours a day. devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
The devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
Gets his pitchfork out each night, gives the folks an awful fright. I know he does it just for spite. He works 24 hours a day. Devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
Oh, the devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
Tells us how to find success. But I know you wind up in distress. I'll tell you why. Devil is an awful mess. He works 24 hours a day. He likes to see things scorch and burn, so don't make no excuse. If he catches you, he'll turn you any way but loose. Nah, the devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
Hey, the devil ain't lazy.
No siree.
So if you think you're strong and brave, smart enough to not behave, you got 1 foot in the grave. You work 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. Yes, he does. He works 24 hours a day. He works 24 hours a day.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
What's
So
happening?
do you want to start like a new topic, or do you want to keep talking about what you were talking about?
I don't remember what I was talking about.
Okay, fair enough. So Corey, I've known you since I was 12. You are literally my oldest friend. That's why I call you my elder friend. We've known each other for 20 years.
Oh shit! Has it really
We're
been?
old. We're
Damn.
so old. Yes, because I was talking to my mom yesterday and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to podcast with Corey tomorrow. And she was like, oh, that guy from, Meadowview. And I was like, yeah, we've known each other for like 20 years, Mom. Shit's crazy. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said we got a Jackson at fucking 20 years. That's fucking crazy. I can't
I
even.
know.
Damn.
Do you
All right.
remember when I used to wear pink? Because I low-key kind of talked about you in my last episode.
Yeah, no, I do remember that. So there's a specific thing that I remember. We were in Mr. Clay's class,
Yeah.
and afterwards we were walking around the school, and on the, there's just little black gum spots all over the ground. I'm like, there's so much fucking gum on the ground. It's crazy. It's just like, that's fucking gross. And you're just like, yeah, it went from pink to black. I did that once.
I don't know why that is like such a fond high school memory for me.
It
But,
really is. It was awesome.
dude, it's just funny because I would see you at the bus stop and we saw each other, but we didn't really talk. And it wasn't until we were in the English class together that we were the two weirdos that were paired to like be in a team to do whatever assignment.
And then there was that one other kid that fucking painted X's right here on his face. Oh,
I don't know. He's not memorable to me.
He had like big spiky hair and fucking little X's right here.
Nope.
His name, I can't remember his name. I think it was like Arthur or something like that.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I've always kind of felt like this kindred spirit connection with you. Like,
Okay.
I mean, we've known each other for a really, really long time. And I feel like besides like my exes, you probably know me the best out of anybody, you know what I mean? So it's only fitting that like I should ask you to be on here. And obviously you're like a musician, and we've often had discussions about mental health. And I feel like every time I have a crisis, you're like a person that I could count on, which really means like so much to me, because we were talking a little bit earlier and you were saying how people don't want to hear about, you know, your mental health issues or whatever. And honestly, personally, to me, if you're friends with somebody like that, then they're not really a friend. They're just an acquaintance. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I kind of get where they're coming from, though. You know, when it comes to that stuff, I used to get like really mad about that, but you know, I get wanting some distance from that stuff, you know, especially if it's somebody that really isn't that close to you.
okay, well, yeah, I guess if it's someone that you like just come by in passing, then it's kind of weird to get like immediately heavy. But
Yeah, like
if it's somebody that you like, no, you should be able to count on them to like, hey man, I'm going through a hard time and I need someone to talk to, you know? And you've always been that guy for me. So I really like, and we always just have really interesting, kind of ridiculous, but fascinating conversations. And there's like so much that I just want to unpack with you. But I want to start, you know, with at the beginning, and I want you to talk about whatever you feel comfortable talking about, like no pressure.
Yeah.
If you say something that you're not comfortable with, I can always edit it later. So tell me about little Corey. What was little Corey like? What did little Corey go through? And how did that shape you into the person you are today?
Oh man. So there's a picture. I mean, you remember who my cousin is. My cousin's a pretty bad person.
He's the first guy I ever kissed. He was a terrible kisser, by the way.
So there's a picture of me and him when we're babies, and I don't know, I don't even know if I was like really able to like walk that good at that point. Like it's like a picture when we're really little, and we're both up on a windowsill, and I got my hands on the windowsill out the window, and I'm just like yelling or something, and he's laughing. And I guess the story was that we had found the window, and then people who were walking down the street, I was just fucking like screaming at them, and David was cracking the fuck up every time I did it. So then I kept doing that, like, and then so they went outside with the camera and then fucking got a picture of it, you know, because of that. But not much has changed.
Definitely. I feel like that really does sum you up as a person. You've always just been that awkward, weird guy that I was able to like, I don't know, connect with, because I was also a weird and awkward kid.
Well, it's weird. In some ways, I'm totally down to just like kind of show my ass and just like be out there and be seen and just like be loud and ridiculous. But then a lot of times when I get kind of like enclosed with a group of people that I don't really know that much, like I hole up really bad in this situation. So it's weird. It's a weird duality where it's like in some ways I'm like super loud and extra, and then in other ways I'm just like I'm too quiet, and it's weird, and it makes other people feel weird, and I can tell that, but then it just makes it worse, and I don't really know how to get past that.
Yeah, I don't know how to get past that either.
Now it's awkward, and the whole conversation feels forced.
We are all awkward and forced here. I mean, that's just when you should maybe walk out of the room and not engage with anyone and go smoke a cigarette. I don't know. Do you want to talk about like any experiences that you had growing up as a youngling?
Ooh, shit, I can't think of anything right off the bat. But you know, I didn't have a fun childhood. My parents had me when they were real young, and my dad was kind of a hard ass, and did a lot of things that, like, it's weird. I don't know if I told you this, but I've actually had like several conversations with him since my birthday in October.
Really?
Yeah, I've talked to him I think 4 times now.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and each time was like probably about an hour and a half each time.
Holy shit. Dude, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and so I had to every time I feel like I'm just like motor mouthing because I'm like trying to catch him up on 8 years of shit, you know,
Yeah.
or 9 years of shit, or however long it was since I saw him, you know. You know, and even before that, we weren't really talking very much at all. It was just like I occasionally would see him, or like when my siblings went and lived with him, I would go over and visit and, you know, hang out a little bit, but it wasn't like father-son time or anything. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't connect with people very well, you know, and so like neither do I, because of that. And my household was always, you know, chaotic, full of like people screaming at each other and everything like that, to the point where you know, I deal with conflict well. If someone's screaming at me, I don't have to yell back unless I want to, you know. It doesn't just like, you know, bring that out of me. I realized at a certain point with my mom, at least, that like I can have a more productive conversation if I don't yell back, you know, or I could have a more productive argument. The way I was looking at it was, I was like, I can win these arguments if I don't yell back, if I stay calm. And she's screaming at me and I just say, you know, are you done yelling? Which she hated. You know, like that you know, I would usually, you know, actually get through to her, you know, at times. But you know, they split up when I was like 10 years old, and you know, I guess a lot of your, I guess probably why you're bringing that up is because like your childhood really shapes who you are.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that comes with that.
Well, yeah, you had mentioned that it shapes who you are today, and I don't know, I'm not sure how you like view yourself, but I've always like admired you, because I always thought you were highly intelligent, very creative, and just an overall fascinating and deep intellectual person. And like I don't know, I feel like a lot of the times when we'd be talking, like you never really saw those aspects within yourself. And I know growing up that you went through a lot of shit and I went through a lot of shit, and that's kind of like what brought us together as friends, as really good friends, was that we were both trying to escape from like these shitty, you know, childhood situations or teenage situations. And I just kind of wanted to explore anything that you were comfortable sharing about, you know, the dynamics that you were experiencing at that time. And I'd also like to get into your transition, like in your music taste, because back when we were talking, you were like a big time metal head, you know, and so was I. So we both listened to metal, and like I watched your band Donna's Requiem, and you played, you know, doom metal back in the day, and you had hair down to like your ass, and
Yep.
you had the most beautiful hair. And I know it wasn't my decision, or like I had no say in it, but I was absolutely heartbroken when you fucking chopped it off, because you were like, you know, I always had short hair growing up.
Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, fuck.
Jiu-Jitsu, that's right.
Dude.
You started doing martial arts. We can get into that. Let's get into that too. Yeah.
Well, I always had a thing with the martial arts. Like that's one thing that was really good that my dad did do for me, is that, you know, he put me in that at a pretty young age, you know, and I got a lot of guidance there outside of the house that I wouldn't have fucking gotten otherwise. And I would probably I'd definitely be a worse person without it, like 100%. But yeah, you can have long hair in jiu-jitsu, but you can't have hair as long as I fucking had in jiu-jitsu. It don't work. Yeah. You gotta do like what the MMA fighters do, where they fucking they braid it all up, and
yeah,
fucking that was too much for me. So I just cut a mohawk and fucking said fuck it. And my instructor hated that, because I was doing the kids class, so the fucking dude who with in the kids class had a fucking floppy mohawk and shit. But the parents loved me anyway. The kids liked me too. It took a little while for me to get into teaching the kids, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, going back to childhood stuff, you know, that's something that shaped me. You know, like going and learning what I learned from Brian. So I had the opportunity to give that back by running the kids class, and at first they were terrified of me, but and I hit it well, but I was terrified of them too.
Oh my gosh.
These little shits, like all their lives in my hands, put too much pressure on myself as always. But
first of all, what kind of martial arts did you study again, and what made you want to get into it?
So what made me want to get into it was that, well, a couple things. Like when I was really young, in elementary school, like real early, like when they first came out, and before they were actually released on tape, my dad would get tapes of the pay-per-views or of however you saw them back then, of like the like original UFCs.
Yeah.
Like the very first ones, like with Hoist Gracie winning all of them, where he was tapping everybody out. So my dad probably looked at that and said, damn, that little dude is tapping out people way fucking bigger than him, choking them, So like, I think he's the one that picked it, he's the one that picked it when he put me in it. And then, so I trained that for a few years when I was a kid, and then it got taken away from me because my grades were bad. Which was the worst thing that you could have done for me, because it was like the one thing that I was like willingly doing, because I wouldn't fucking do anything else. I didn't do nothing that I didn't want to do. I'm stubborn like that. And also the education system that we have here, or I don't even know if there is one anywhere else. Like you say, I'm like a smart guy, but I'm not like an educated guy. Like I don't like know things. What I mean?
But we could argue that the stuff that they taught us in school wasn't necessarily something that would make us intelligent. Yeah, it's not life skills. I never learned how to fucking do my taxes, or just basic. Everything that we were taught in school is like can basically be thrown out the window. All you need is basic math and like a little bit of history, and learn how to read and write, and you're good. Like everything else in between was just a whole lot of bullshit. And I feel like
it's just a precursor for college, which is the real education.
For sure. I mean, I kind of wish I went back to college. Maybe I still will. Who knows? But that doesn't, what I'm trying to get at is that just because you like did shitty in school didn't mean that you weren't a bright person, because you totally were. You just weren't interested in the material because it was bullshit, which is exactly how I was too.
Yeah, but anyway, through that, like that's the style that we trained. So supposedly it was a style that Brian created himself, but all it was MMA without the term MMA.
Mm-hmm.
And then without like a fully rounded set, because there was no wrestling. There was no like wrestling program or anything like that, and there weren't a whole lot of people who did any kind of like high school, and definitely no collegiate wrestlers where we were at. So, that being said, we'd get fucking taken down. You know what I mean? But there was a lot of judo. And judo and jiu-jitsu was like the fucking grappling aspects of it, and then boxing and kempo karate were the fucking main like aspects of it. And so like mostly it was a kempo karate and Brazilian jiu-jitsu school. But
so is that like striking and grappling?
It's everything.
It's everything. Okay. Yeah.
And so like one of the things, a lot of the stuff that we would do is like, what if I did this? What if I did this? Like, let's fuck around with that, and then just like drill a lot of stuff, try a lot of things out. So a lot of it was trial by fire and fucking like pressure testing everything, which is cool. You need that. But no one school is like a complete thing. So like these days I'm more focused on kind of boxing is like kind of my thing. But with COVID you can't train, so like I mean you probably can, but I wasn't already going somewhere that I wasn't already going somewhere where I was like cool enough to like be in with whoever's still fucking training regardless of of the stuff. And then on top of that, like I want to be respectful of people that I'm around and not be swapping sweat with people who I don't know what they're doing in their own lives and all that.
Yeah.
So like martial arts and music, which are my two favorite things, have been put on halt for this entire pandemic, you know.
Yeah. It's been hard, man. It has been so fucking hard. I mean, I'm not a martial artist, but the music aspect I can definitely relate to. Let's talk about music. You were in 2 bands previously before this whole COVID epidemic started. Do you want to talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, I was in, you know, some kind of like weird folk bands, you know. I wouldn't call Butterflies of Death folk punk. Like some people might do that. We play a lot of shows with folk punk bands, but I don't even know what we are. We're like neo Americana stuff. Like Graham's kind of like the mastermind behind a lot of that stuff. He, you know, has written all the songs, and I started that playing in that band because they split ways with their old accordion player, and I had bought one from a thrift store up here, and it was one that was like working pretty good. And I had been fucking around with it, but I didn't take it seriously and everything. And then another friend of mine said, "Hey, this band Butterflies of Death is looking for, you know, an accordion player." And I was like, I remember that band. Back when I was traveling and everything, when I came through Seattle, I just so happened to be in town for Folk Life. I didn't even know about Folk Life, which is it's like a folk music festival that is held like by the Space Needle and everything. So I went down there and I was hanging out, and I walked by their spot where they were set up. I was like, this band's pretty cool, and left. And then I left and kept traveling, went to New York, went back to Riverside, you know, did all that stuff, came all the way back here to, you know, to Seattle, lived here for a couple of years, went to South America, you know, came back to Florida, came back to California, came my ass all the way back to Seattle. And then later on, I get a chance to be in that band. It's just weird, you know, like that there's foreshadowing in your life that you don't know about.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
You know,
Life fucking comes full circle sometimes.
Yeah, but then I wound up, but they wanted somebody to fill in for 2 shows because they already had 2 shows booked. So they wanted somebody to fill in real quick for 2 shows so that they could find somebody permanent. So I was like, I could do that. I could at least do something. So I went to a couple practices. We hit it off real well. Like the percussionist Kurt, he's actually from Moreno Valley.
No shit.
Yeah, and he was part
Small
of
world.
Yeah, and he was part of the Riverside Drunk Punks, but like that was before our times. He's, you know, he's a little bit older than us.
Okay.
But it was cool because like me and him hit it off right off the bat because we're both from, so you know, we're both from the same area. So
right, from the IE.
Dude, we see eye to eye. But yeah, so after playing the 2 shows and everything, like I guess I did good enough that they, you know, they went aside and talked about it, and then they came to me and said, do you just want to be in the band? I was like, sure, you know, I suck and don't play this thing, right? And they're like, yeah, dude, we just like you. So I was like, all right, cool, you know.
It'd be like that sometimes though. Sometimes you just vibe really fucking well, you know what I mean?
You know, I'm a string player, right? Like I don't play, I'm not an accordion player.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Okay, so I was saying earlier that you used to be like a big time metalhead. Do you want to talk about your doom metal band that you were in and how like you got started playing guitar and all that?
Yeah, so well, I got started playing guitar when I was like 16, but I refused to do things the way that like you're supposed to do them, because I refused to like learn other people's songs and everything because I wanted to be completely original, which isn't a thing. Everything's derivative, dude. You know, but so I was terrible, you know, because of that. And then I met Jeff in high school, and he ended up inviting me into the band after like we had played together, because like me and him hit it off really well too, and we became real good friends. And you know, I was into I guess enough stuff to be fucking cool enough for all those guys, right? You know, enough metal to be cool. And you know, they showed me all kinds of stuff with you know, black metal and doom metal, and I fucking got into it. But I've always been a little bit, I didn't really fucking belong in that scene. Like I was there. I played music. You know, I think I played doom pretty well. I felt it. You know what I mean? I played from the heart. I wasn't a great guitarist or anything, but I played from the heart, which I think is the most important part of it.
Yeah.
And you know, but I've always, you know, liked things to be played a little faster, a little bit more chaotic. You know. So as far as what's
sorry,
that?
You go ahead.
I don't know where I was going.
Oh, well, I was gonna say, so one would think that you, if you like shit that's like faster and heavier, you'd get into like death metal or something like that. But instead you kind of like went the opposite and you got into like punk rock and like crust punk and like all this folk stuff, right? And that's like where you found your home. Okay, I don't know who your shirt is. You got to tell me who it is.
Yeah, it's this band called Nux Vomica.
Next, what?
Nux Vomica.
Nux Vomica. What kind of band are they?
They're like a kind of like a crust punk kind of band. Like they're one of those bands that I don't really think that genres really fits that well.
Right.
You know. But yeah, they're fucking dope. You should check them out. It's they hung it up like probably about 4 years ago or something like that. I can't remember how long ago, but it was some time ago. They're kind of like, they're crust, and then they have like a lot of like metal influence, which is like with crusty punk stuff. Like that's always my favorite shit, is the stuff that has like metal influence, like heavy like metal influence. And like so that's always been my relationship with black metal in particular.
Yeah.
I'm not a fucking purist with that shit. I like stuff that's like blackened. You know,
Yeah.
like black metal, pure black metal is not really my thing so much.
Right.
But stuff that's blackened, you know, like stuff where there's blast beats sometimes, I'm about that. Like the, you know, because like the dynamics of it, like for me, like musically, like the dynamics of blast beats is just so fucking high. All you can do is come back down,
right,
know? And then rise back up. But there's no going up above that. So if you start off the song fucking just blasting, there's nowhere to go up.
Right.
You know, barely. A guitar solo can kind of twist you up a little bit, but like there's not a whole lot of rise that you can get through that. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like the progression of intensity can only be so much before it gets like,
it came out of the gates, fucking,
right?
You know, like.
So you like music that kind of has like an ebb and flow of different dynamics.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh, are you like a big dark
groovy stuff? Sorry, what?
Oh, I was gonna ask. Go ahead, say the groovy thing.
Oh, but I was gonna say like, but more groovy stuff, and like I like stuff with a lot of groove. I like stuff that's like a little bit more thrashy most of the time, you know, which is weird because like a lot of thrash metal is fucking corny, but I can't get over it. I like it anyway, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it does. Music doesn't always have to be serious, you know what I mean? Even though my people usually are. I was gonna ask you if you're like a big Dark Throne fan, because Dark Throne takes heavily from like crust punk influences, and
they used to be super crusty.
Yeah, I mean, they started out death metal, but they definitely got crusty.
No, it was really funny because like I've actually like shown people, like there's this one song that they did called "Fuck Off and Die" that I
just love. Come on, that's a classic.
Just because
like, and die.
And it's really just like, it's really basic. There's something about like the caveman riff, like that, just like the caveman mentality of that shit that's just like just ignorant and angry, that I'm like, oh man, I feel it. You know,
they are super cavemen. I mean, well, they wouldn't call it cavemen. Fenris Gilvey would call it primitive. We were very into primitive roots. Yeah. But that's exactly what it is. But I love that they just kind of like don't give a fuck about this whole purist mentality or being true cult or whatever. Like they absolutely fucking hate that term, especially Fenriz. And they just kind of like do their own thing, you know what I mean? And like even though it's kind of dad rocky, it still is fucking badass because it's Dark Throne. Like
I honestly, I think my favorite thing with any band or musician or composer or whatever is when they have like range. It's like when an actor has range and they're not just typecast.
Yep.
You know, with like a band to be able to play songs in different styles rather than just being stuck in one genre or one vein. Because like, you know, like I said, you know, like you said, it's like I used to just be like complete fucking metalhead, and you know, I grew up hearing a lot of punk too, because like my dad was into that stuff, but I went with metal because I was gonna be different, you know.
Right.
But that's part of my roots. That's why fucking punk rock has always been there, you know. Like I grew up listening to fucking the Subhumans and Voodoo Glow Skulls, you know, they're from Riverside, and like
I didn't know
and
that.
like the Exploited and like a bunch of stuff that my dad was into.
I didn't know your dad listened to punk.
Oh yeah, and like Suicidal Tendencies, which is like crossover.
Yeah. Oh fuck, I love Suicidal.
Yeah.
Close
and then
heart.
like, and my dad was like, when I was a kid, he was like into Pantera and stuff too. So
nice.
like, I remember
Pantera.
I have this weird vague memory of getting my hair cut, and somebody asked me if I knew the words to like one of the Pantera songs, and I knew all the words to Walk when I was like tiny, you know, which was like, which is hilarious, you know. But
that's cute, baby Corey.
I guess talking to me? I'm not. The thing is, like, there's a nostalgia factor there, but I'm just like, I'm not really about Phil Anselmo.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really, really complicated and controversial person. I mean, there have definitely been times.
There's a lot of fucking cringy shit about that guy.
Yeah, yeah, there is. The thing that I mean, he'll kind of like he'll admit it though, you know, he kind of like wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's upfront about like, yeah, I was a fuck up and I was a piece of shit and I was a heroin addict, and like he kind of like owns up to a lot of that stuff, which to me is kind of like the redeeming factor, but it can only be to a certain extent, because like if I found out he was a rapist or something, then I probably wouldn't be a huge fan, you know what I mean? Speaking of,
what if you found out he was a racist? Because like he was sitting here fucking.
Yeah, that's also real. Fuck, it's so hard when you grow up listening to somebody's music and you find a home in it, you know what I mean? And it's
because those songs, that's not what those songs mean to you. So
right, yeah, it's not what those songs mean to you, and a lot of the times it's like the songs aren't even conjoined with the artist, if that makes sense. It's like, I think it's absolutely possible to separate the artist from the art, which is really hard to say sometimes, because like, you know, real quickly, the whole Marilyn Manson thing that just blew up, where he was, you know, accused of being a rapist and all this and an abuser, and it's like, that's something that was really close to my heart growing up. Like, that's not going to take away those experiences and how much that influenced me growing up as a kid and how much it meant to me, you know what I mean? But also like in the future, I'm not going to be inclined to support his art or whatever. I don't know. It's just, it's really complicated. Why do the people that I admire the most have to be pieces of shit sometimes? Like, it's not fair.
Yeah.
Are there a bunch of like cringy people? I feel like it's mostly a black metal thing. I hate to say it. Like, there's a lot of cringy people in black metal, but I don't know. Is the crust?
That's why I don't really understand like some of these scenes. It's like there's like a bunch of like, you know, you go through there, and like, I don't really. It's not a judgment. It's I don't understand it. Like how
it can be a judgment.
No. I'm saying like for me.
Yeah.
This isn't a judgment. This is me not understanding something. Like how there can be a whole bunch of like the crowd in like in LA,
Yeah.
mostly brown people, racist music.
Well, not all of it is racist.
You know what I mean? Like
But they're all fans of Burzum. Yeah, I get it.
yeah,
And it goes back to the separating the artist from the art thing. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like the music is really fucking good. The art is really good. I mean, for music, it's sonic art. Think of it as looking at a painting. You know, this is a beautiful painting. I can admire this painting. This painting has meaning to me personally. But the guy who made it is a fucking piece of shit. So, but I can still enjoy the painting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just kind of the way that I look at it.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things that play into that.
Yeah, it's complicated and unfortunate a lot of the time. I was going to ask you, you had mentioned earlier how you like were traveling. Would you want to talk? Yeah.
I just want to say real quick, it's
Yes.
just like, yes, 100% not all black metal is racist. But when I said that about like the crowd, and then there's like a vision that I could see at the Black Castle of like Nocturne up there, and like shit that I've heard that dude say, you know, where I'm just like, dude, you're all just headbanging to this dude who doesn't like you. You know what I mean?
But why is that guy playing to people that he doesn't like?
Who knows? Why is he cutting himself on stage? You know?
Because it's black metal. Dude, the fucking Black Castle. Let's unpack that gem for a minute. God, that place was an absolute toilet shithole, but it's like renowned. But it is like renowned in
that
the
place
fucking...
was punk as fuck too. Like just because of what it was. Because it was a DIY space where they didn't renovate shit. They didn't clear the cobwebs before putting on shows. They were like, no, it's cool that way. Like they didn't unclog the toilets.
Yep. It literally smelled like a toilet and sweat and just all sorts of body odor. People were like fucking in the back. I was really upset they didn't accept credit cards because I couldn't buy beer one night. And but it's like it's renowned as this iconic legendary spot in LA, you know what I mean? So I don't know, I just think it's
because a lot of people had a lot of fucked up crazy fucking stories to tell from there, you know.
Yeah, it was kind of like the showcase. Oh dude, you guys, that's where I saw you play with Donuts Requiem.
We played at the showcase and at the Black Castle.
Yeah, and the showcase is, I think they fucking had a Mortal play there that was located in Corona, California, for those of you that don't know. It was like this tiny 2-story building that was located next to the 99-cent only store. And so they fucking had Immortal, they had Dissection play there, they had fucking Death play there. I think Cannibal Corpse went through there. Like it was actually a hot spot. So it sucks that they got shut down for whatever reason.
I saw Vader there.
Vader?
Yeah, Vader was there too. And you know, 13, and we played our first show with 1349. That shit was fucking cool.
At the showcase?
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't even know
that was our first show. Our first show, we opened for 1349. That shit was crazy.
That's fucking badass.
Yeah. People hated us.
Was Frost?
People hated us so bad.
Was Frost allowed to play over here at that time? No,
okay. He was banned from the United States.
Okay, yeah, he's been banned for a while. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know the timeline and all these things.
I don't even know why. I just heard he was banned. I was like, what the fuck?
Terrorist something or other, I'm sure. I don't know. I forget. I'm not cult enough to know all the details about everything.
It's probably something to do with his criminal record in other countries and that shit coming up, and they're going, we're gonna let him over here? No, dude.
Why don't I know this? I should totally know this. Like I feel like my black metal credentials are on the line here. Why was
now you got other stuff to do with your life?
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway,
you got a podcast to run. You can't just be Wikipedia and
I know. I just feel like I just want to know everything about everything, and I'm so disappointed in myself when I don't. Like I call myself a black metal fan. I should know most of the things at least. What was I gonna say though? I was gonna ask you if you want to talk about when you were like train hopping and shit, because I thought it was a fucking wild ass time in your life, and you went through a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot, you know. When you're out there doing that, the concept of time completely goes away. You know, it's just like everything's kind of like destination goal oriented. Everything's about where am I going to get my food? What am I going to fucking do? Where the fuck am I going to sleep? You know, yeah, I did that for a couple of years. I forget about that.
You forget about that?
Yeah, because my life's so different now. You know, that was like almost 7 years ago at this point.
Yeah, it's
so like sometimes like whenever I remember that, I'm like, oh yeah, like fuck, man, I was like a sneaky dude. Like,
but dude, you literally traveled across the country, like fucking hopping trains. Like, what made you want to do that?
Wanting to get the fuck out of where I was, you know.
In Riverside?
I was really stuck. Like, so in 2011, in the same month, I lost, what was it? I lost my my job, my house, like my family was fucking scattered because of that. A lot of my friends, because I had to move in with my grandma, because you know I didn't have a fucking job, so it's like it's not like I could just go get a place.
Right.
That whole time I was paying rent, and it wasn't going towards rent apparently. I was funding some other shenanigans I didn't know about.
Oh, that fucking sucks.
What else did I lose? I ended up losing my car, and just like it sucked. You know, that year was terrible. And then the following year, you know, after I got, you know, involved with like, you know, helping out with like the Blood Orange and all that stuff, like, and I was you know, still doing the kids classes, and I was still you know, training, and I also joined a fucking bike riding club, you know, like bicycles and everything. We did century rides. So I was doing all sorts of stuff. I was just broke as a joke.
Yeah.
And, you know, I applied to, I don't even know how many applications I put in. I have no idea, like a lot. And then, you know, after so many weeks and so many times of having things like that not work out, you give up after a little bit. And so I decided, I was like, well, fuck it, I'll go to school. So then I tried going to school. And then after that happened, I was losing my mind really bad, you know, and I went to Brian and I was like, dude, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it, you know, this is like, it was like to the point where like I couldn't talk to him, you know. I was like trying to tell him what was going on, and we were in the car. I remember we were like waiting in the drive-through somewhere. I think he was like going through the drive-through at a Starbucks for like an iced coffee or something. He's like, you want anything? I'm like, no, I'm good. And I remember I was just like posted up on the window, and I'm sitting here trying to tell him these things, and he's asking me, he goes, so are you thinking about taking your life? I'm like, yeah, dude, all the time, every day. When I wake up, that's like one of the first things in my head, and I can't sleep because it's all I want to do. You know, it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do at this point? I can barely function, which is weird saying that, because like looking back, it's like you're doing century rides, you're running classes, you're fucking going to that, all without a fucking job. Like I would get up and I would get on my bike and I would ride 14 miles out to the place, and then I would teach the kids classes, and then I would train my ass off for like 4 hours, and then get back on that bike, and I would ride another 14 miles back to like downtown Riverside, and then I would get fucked up and party, and then I'd get up and do it again. And
That's
again,
fucking
and again,
intense.
just all the time, you know. And I was like in my head about like I can't function, I can't even fucking be a real person, you know. I can't get a job, I can't fucking do this, like I'm a fucking burden on my grandma, you know. Meanwhile, like I'm helping her out with all sorts of stuff too, and you know, she don't mind. But I just felt like a piece of shit anyway, you know. Also during that time I was involved with the fucking Blood Orange Info Shop, like, you know, helping doing like community organizing stuff, opening that place, socializing there, throwing shows and doing stuff. But like I just like I couldn't handle being in Riverside anymore. And I didn't think that I was ever like, I felt like the lifestyle that I was living, while it was like, it was cool and fun and fucking dangerous and weird and exciting, that there was like, that there's a dead end coming, you know, like there's going to be a huge drop off, and I'm not going to be able to do this forever if I don't have some kind of stability. So I said, you know what, fuck stability. And I just like pulled the rug out, rolled it up, rolled all my stuff in it, and fucking threw it over my shoulder and left. You know, that's why I traveled, you know. And I was like, I gotta figure myself out. You know, I gotta like figure out what I'm gonna do. So I was like, I heard that people were still hopping trains and stuff. I was like, people are still doing that? I'm like, yeah. I was like, how the hell do you do that? You know, so I was talking to somebody about it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about it, you know. And I lucked out because I went over to Colton and to hop out from there with one of my friends who decided that they were going to go with me. And we met up with somebody who was also, you know, who was also a traveler. He could tell by you know, who we were. And he was like, yeah, dude, I wasn't going to travel with you guys. But then when you admitted completely that you were green and that you like weren't going to do it, he's like, because there's so many people who try to pretend like they're the shit, that they're out here just doing it. He's like, when you said like, nope, never been on one before, I just came here to do it. And he's like, that and my dog liked you. And she's a good judge character. So fucking like, we're doing this. We're going to travel. So then I traveled with Mikey for like a long time. And then at a certain point, we ended up splitting ways in Portland because he hates Portland. And it was my first time that I'd ever been there. And, you know, when you're traveling with people, you spend 24 hours a fucking day with them. So, like, little tendencies that they can have can eventually get on your nerves. And so I was in Portland for the first time. It was kind of sprinkling, raining. And I was just, like, looking around, you know, just, like, absorbing it. It was my first time in a place, and he's just bitching about the city. He's like, I hate this fucking place. Like, oh yeah, he's like, it figures it's fucking raining and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, can you stop fucking complaining for a second? This is my first time here. I'm trying to enjoy this fucking trip. Like, you know, this is my first time I ever fucking been here. So can you just like shut the fuck up? You know? And then it was just weird, you know, like for like, it was weird all day. And then, you know, things were cool, but you know, by that point we were already starting to kind of grate on each other. So then like we split ways, and we're cool, you know, like it wasn't like a split of friendship, but it was like it's about time for us to like not be spending 24 hours a day together.
Right.
You know, because he kind of had a like, I gotta show you the ropes, show you how to fucking live out here type of mentality, you know.
Yeah.
Like he almost like kind of like took me in almost. You know, it's like, here, let me show you how to do this. But after that, then I was on my own for a long time. And traveling alone's hard.
Was that scary?
Kind of.
I would be fucking scared. But I mean, I know I'm a girl and everything, but still being alone out in the wilderness, so to speak, like you don't know where you're gonna eat next, you don't know where you're gonna lay your head next. I'm sure you had to be careful about, first of all, getting caught, and then second of all, like violence from random people because you're in their turf or anything. Did you ever experience anything like that?
I got in a fight once, but
okay. Well, that's
it
not
wasn't
so
much.
bad.
Well, I mean, with my background, it wasn't much of one.
Right.
You know, I didn't even have to hurt him. I just threw him around and fucking held him down and was like, "Are you done, dude? Because this ain't going your way." You know, and he said, "Fuck you." So I kneed him in the head. I said, "How about now?" And then he calmed down.
Okay. That's what's up. That's fucking crazy, dude.
I know.
You
like,
know,
he didn't even understand that, like, because we were under a bridge.
Yeah.
He didn't understand. Like, that's the thing is, like, it's crazy. Like, training does so much for you. Like, people don't understand how fucking helpless they can be in a situation. Like, if somebody knows how to fucking throw you, like, I could have thrown him onto a rock, you know? I could have, like, smashed him into the fucking ground, but I I clinched him and he was trying to hit me, but I kept my head close to him, and you know, he knocked my hat off. He doesn't even know that I did this, but I was like, I'm gonna take him down. I had a like a fixed blade knife on my side.
Yeah.
So I fucking, while we were tangled up, I took it out and dropped it. And then I walked him away from it, and then I picked a good spot where he wasn't gonna get injured, and I like did a big fucking like a hip toss on him, kind of like a hip toss or like a shoulder throw type of thing on him, and then and I slammed him on his hips instead of his head, you know.
Yeah.
And then he turned over, and then when he did that, I just grabbed his pants and pulled him underneath him, and then I basically like pushed his fucking nose towards his crotch, and then just kind of held him there, and then got some better grips, and then just held on to him and just put my whole weight on his back. And I said, that's when I asked him if he was done, and he said, fuck you. So I kneed him in the head, and I said, how about now? And then I just and then like that was the end of it. You know, I didn't even have to hurt him, you know, which is like lucky that dude didn't know shit, you know. And and to be fair, he was a bit smaller than me, but he just was a problem the whole fucking day. And I mean, he's lucky I didn't do worse than that, because he tried to, the way that the fight started was he tried to kick me in my face while I was sitting down.
Wow.
I was like sitting down, and he like charged at me and tried to fucking put his boot in my mouth.
What a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Why did he do that? Because you were in his spot? Because
he didn't, first of all, he didn't like me and my people that I was with.
Right.
And then he was like talking shit all day, and I'm a smart ass too, but I was like trying to just make it cool with everybody. And it's like pretty clear he's like the scrapper of the group, and he just like wants to feel bad, and he just like wants people to be afraid of him or something. And at one point he loses his like he lost his like his money and his EBT card, but he had taken off his bibs, you know, like his overalls.
Yeah.
And he flung them off himself, and he was just, because we were all drinking and stuff, and he fucking tackled one of his friends, and they were just having fun. But then when he couldn't find his shit, he thought one of us got into it after he took his bibs off. He thought one of us got into it and took his stuff. And I said, we didn't take your shit, dude. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know, I was like, maybe because when you flung him out like that, maybe it came out somewhere. And then people were like trying to calm it all down, and I was just sitting down. And then somebody got their headlamp out and was looking around and found it. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Weird that it's there right where I fucking said that it might have been, huh? Like maybe next time you won't go accusing people of shit, you know? And he goes, fuck you, man. You fucking, like, I don't remember what he was saying, but he was just yelling at me. I said, man, quit being a bitch, just sit down. And he goes, don't call me a bitch. I said, well, quit being one. And then he tried to put his boot in my mouth.
Fuck that guy. You showed him.
Well, I mean, sort of.
So you did, though. You fucking checked him and put him in his place. So you did all of that with like jiu-jitsu, right? Pretty much.
Judo.
With judo? What is the difference between judo and jiu-jitsu?
Well, historically, nothing. But like judo. So jiu-jitsu originated in Japan, and originally it was the whole thing with all of the grappling from standing all the way to the ground. But then one of those guys went over and, you know, hooked up with like the fucking Gracies down in Brazil and brought jiu-jitsu there, and they mastered the ground game of it, which is only half of what jiu-jitsu is. Jiu-jitsu is both the standing grappling and the ground game submissions and everything. But the Brazilians went super hard with the ground game aspect of it, which is why Brazilian jiu-jitsu is so popular and so prevalent and effective. But judo became like kind of it ended up becoming an Olympic sport. Right. And it was all of like the standing grips and takedowns and throws and like all that type of stuff, you know.
Oh, okay.
And you know, originally judo had like double legs and single leg takedowns, like how wrestling does, like how Olympic wrestling does.
Yeah.
But in order to make it look different enough as an Olympic event, they took the leg attacks out of judo. So judo is mostly upper body grappling and throws now, whereas like because judo was originally an aspect of jiu-jitsu, so jiu-jitsu got watered down several times. Like it became just the standing game, and then they got the leg attacks taken out. So it's like a limited skill set of things. Like that being said, judo is fucking awesome, but like it's weird how like the things change over history, you know. There's like a whole story to all of that stuff that other people can tell better than me.
Yeah, no, that's cool though, because I've always wanted to learn something like that, and I'm actually thinking about taking some classes because I want to be able to defend myself, particularly against men. Like when shows open back up and stuff, I'm like a single chick, and sometimes there's like creepy dudes that try to touch you and stuff, and I want to be able to like armbar a motherfucker and chokehold him or whatever, you know.
Jiu-jitsu and boxing.
Huh?
I think that you'll get the most out of jiu-jitsu and boxing.
Jiu-jitsu and boxing?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that if you're not going to be a lifetimer, you know, that like as far as like striking goes, like you'll get more out of 6 months of boxing than you will 6 months of anything else.
Okay.
And then you'll get more out of then like jiu-jitsu is super accessible and like the hot ticket right now.
Right.
And like it's the hot ticket, like not in the way that like taekwondo or karate or like things became the hot ticket, where it's like where they're like bullshit belt factories, like
Right.
know, it's harder to get, like that's the one thing that's cool about grappling is like it's harder to get hurt.
Right.
You know, like and it's harder to get hurt with like 100% resistance, you know, like you can't just be fucking smashing each other 100% like when you're striking each other all the time, but you can grapple at 100% all the time, and that's what, and so you can get super good. But you know, and then people who don't know grappling, just like it, that you can just control them, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so a big part of the show, you know, is talking about mental health and stuff, and I know we touched on it a little bit, but would you feel comfortable talking a little bit more about your relationship with depression and how it affects your life?
Yeah. Well, I'm not really, it's weird. So I'm not really sure that, I think this is kind of like more of a recent discovery for me. I'm not really sure that like my depression is caused by some kind of like chemical imbalance. I think it's caused by a lot of other stuff. Like I think it's a little bit, you know, probably a little bit to do with trauma, and then also a little bit with it's caused by like being burnt out and like frustration that has to do with my inability to focus and fucking engage with stuff. Like it's always been an issue, like I said earlier, with the whole me not doing good in school thing.
Yeah.
A lot of that wasn't like because I was stupid and couldn't do the work, is that I didn't do homework because I couldn't do homework. My home life was shitty for one, and then plus like it takes everything for me to engage in something. Like I can't stay, I'm so fucking scatterbrained, it's crazy. Like this, like editing this shit is gonna be nuts because like we're all over the place, and then there's gonna be a bunch of times you'll notice, like I was thinking about it a second ago, like that, like I'll get into something and then go somewhere else with it. Like so, like
No, that's fine. It doesn't have to be linear. I mean, we can just keep, you know, time isn't linear really, if we think about it in like a grander scheme of things. So you don't even be self-conscious about that.
Yeah. But there's like a lot of stuff, you know, that goes into that. Like, so like one of the things that I was going to get into a minute ago was with that whole conversation with Brian in the car. Yeah.
Well, for real quick, for those of the people that don't know who Brian is, do you want to just say who he is real quick?
Yeah, he was the founder, headmaster of the martial arts school that I went to, and also he was just like a really good friend and kind of like a mentor to me for a while. And so like, you know, we got pretty close there. But that's one of the things I was going to say was like something that was one of the contributing factors to me leaving was that the school got taken from me, because like I wanted to keep teaching, you know, and eventually maybe I could fucking do it not as just an apprentice, you know what I mean? Like that was kind of my apprenticeship into running that fucking school.
Right.
And so yeah, but well, you know what happened, like
Do you want to talk about
yeah.
it?
So in 2012, like right before I ended up deciding, you know what, screw this, I'm leaving because there ain't nothing here for me anymore, was like you know, I got into a nasty car wreck where that so
I remember that.
So that's where I was going with that conversation. Damn it. Okay. So in that conversation, he suggested like, maybe you need to go get some help, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe you need to. So I went down to the, you know, to like the mental health zoo and you know, got me some pills, you know, after talking to like talking to a few people, talking to the lead psychiatrist guy there for a little bit. He wanted to try me out on lithium. I said, how about we try something softer first? You know? I said, I don't know. It's like, there's a lot of stuff that I hear about the track record of that. Like, I'm like, how about we try something a little easier first, you know? So we were trying something different. And so he gave me a couple of things. I don't think this dude knew what he was doing, but he gave me trazodone and hydroxyzine, both of which were not what I was looking for, you know?
Yeah.
Like it gave me what I was calling a white noise mind, you know, where it was just like, look, dude, I wanted to feel better, not shut the fuck up.
Right.
You know? But it was mostly like, you know. So I went and did that, and then you know, I was at that time I was hanging out with Zach a lot, and then
Oh shit, that's right.
yeah, yep, and then Brian ended up killing himself. And then that's one of the things that kind of sent me over the edge, and I just said, you know what, I'm out. And I left. That's why I went traveling. But then I ended up settling down in Seattle. And then after about a year of being there, my best friend at that same time, when Brian killed himself, my best friend at the time, Zach hung himself. So, you know, so there's a lot of trauma with that shit too. And I just like, that's one of the things that like, I try not to go this way, but like sometimes I'm like, dude, why the fuck was it you guys? You know, why was it you two? And I'm still here.
That's fucking hard, man. I remember,
you know, especially since I looked up to both of them so much. I loved both of those guys so much. They were fucking awesome.
I know.
You know, so like I imagine that there's like a little bit of that going into the whole trauma section, you know, stacked on top of everything else that was already there.
Right.
You know,
so you experienced a total disintegration of like your entire fucking life, basically.
Yep.
Like, that's fucking
which is
hard.
why I left, and then I decided to start over up here, and then I was like really alone for like a long time. You know, like truly, I was like truly fucking alone here for like a long time. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you going through that, and you know, your friend Zach that you were best friends with, he was also a musician, and he was also a tattoo artist. And
that's probably a little bit of an exaggeration. I don't think we were best friends, but he was like my favorite. He was my favorite person that I was hanging out with at the time.
Well, he was a good friend. And it's funny because we were in art class together, and I remember him being like this tiny little pipsqueak, and he was like this loud mouth, boisterous, pain in the ass, totally up your alley. But but me, I just, I was like, man, this kid's annoying. And then he ended up
No, he was a wild
bringing
one.
up like
Love him.
fucking being 6 foot tall and ended up being like a tattooer and stuff, which is what I've always wanted to do. So I low key like, was not jealous, but I don't know, maybe I was a little bit jealous of him because he was able to
I was jealous. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he was really talented. What I'm getting at is that he was a talented artist. He had tattooed, you mentioned you had the car wreck. He tattooed your car wreck on your bicep because
Yeah,
you thought that was hilarious. And I
'Cause it is
remember,
hilarious.
oh God, I remember you showed me a picture of that and I cried because I was like, bitch, there you go. There you go. And it says good times.
Says
Yep.
good times over the top of it.
Yep.
Yeah. This
what-
camera's kind of grainy, so you probably couldn't see that very good. And also I didn't stop, so
Oh, it's all good. Why do you think that? I feel like usually it's people that are really
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, that are really creative and talented. Like, why do we struggle so much with our mental health? Like, do you think the artist is more susceptible to having mental health issues, or that an artist becomes an artist because they have mental health issues?
That's a good question. That's kind of I think that is a chicken or the egg kind of question.
Yeah.
But yeah, really though, because I think it's both. For some people, it's that they have mental health issues and they don't have another way to express it, that it goes that way, and then for others, they just like the artist has a weird place in society too. Like, what is the purpose of that? Like, it's weird. It's like pure expression. And so like, why would somebody dedicate their life towards that? And it's weird because like you kind of get self-involved with that and you put the value of yourself on like the success of your expression, but like most artists don't even get appreciated until
they're dead.
Way the fuck later,
Yep. I think that's some
it's
bullshit.
it's just interesting, so I don't know the answer to that question. I have no idea.
I mean, I don't know either. That's why I'm asking you, because I know I'm not the only one to ask that question or think that thought. Like, it's been something that's kind of been thrown around for a while, and I've kind of wondered that for myself too. Because I'm an artist, and it's like sometimes I feel like I wouldn't have been, I don't know, what's the word? Inspired, I guess. I wouldn't have been inspired to draw or paint or do any of the things that I did, or to want to sing, if it wasn't for like all the shit that I've been through. Like, all the sorrow that I have felt throughout my life has often been like a catalyst, you know what I mean? And I know a lot of people like have used it for that purpose as well. Like, it's a good form of catharsis, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's funny because throughout this whole pandemic situation, I mean, the things that were considered essential were like grocery stores and whatever, and shows were completely canceled. And
well, yeah, you can't, that would spread it,
right. Well, I'm saying but just anything, not even just shows, like going to the hair salon, going to to a tattoo shop, things like this, that where the environment is more easily controlled, was still considered non-essential. But things that are artistic, in my opinion, are what make life tolerable and worth living, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So ironically enough, it's like these are the things that would have gotten us through a really difficult time like this, and yet they're not considered essential. It's just it's crazy.
It's like, what do you mean non-essential? What do you mean non-essential? That's why, that's the best part of life. Like,
yes, like it absolutely is essential, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, but not essential to
to the government.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think it's that they're not essential to controlling the fucking outbreak, you know?
Right. But I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like
I get why that there's not shows right now.
No, I can understand shows more because it is like a big group of people coming together. But like tattoo shops, salons, barber shops, come on now. Like that environment is more easily controlled and more easily sterilized than going to the grocery store where you're next to some jackass who doesn't give a shit about your 6-foot personal space. You know what I mean? And half the people aren't even wearing their mask properly or whatever. I don't know. I just think it's a really complicated situation, but some of that is bullshit. Like those places should have been open too, you know, in my opinion. But another thing that I wanted to bring up earlier was, do you want to talk about like your experiences with psychedelics at all? But yeah, I wanted to ask you, I remember you had talked about doing, I don't know if it was your first mushroom trip, but a mushroom trip where you had gone up to Mount Rubidoux and you saw like, what's that?
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, you saw like patterns on the ground and stuff like that, and I had like a similar experience, so I wanted to ask you if you wanted to share anything about that.
I don't know which time I was talking about that time that you said that. Like, you know, I've tripped on Rubidoux a bunch of times. And that wasn't the first time. The first time was in Santa Cruz.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I do remember one thing though from being on top of Mount Rubidoux. Like one thing that was really weird and
what?
Something that didn't really change one way or another. You know, it wasn't dependent on the trips, but it would become intensified with the trips. Is like standing there up on top of the mountain. Every direction I look, the fucking landscape is dotted with fucking million ass little lights, you know, little street lights, cars going, and maybe some, you know, for some of the stuff that's a little closer, I could see in, you know, lit up windows and everything like that. And I'm just like, there's so many more people than these lights than I could see. It's crazy. Like if I was to make this into a ratio, it'd just be fucking, you know, 1,000 to 1, you know, like just here, like not even in the world, but just here, you know. And it's weird because like the sensation that I was getting wasn't like I'm looking down on this city or I'm looking down on like this fucking like society or like, wow, look at all these. Wow, there's a lot of people. Like I was seeing an infestation, you know, like that's what I was seeing. And it was just like, ugh. You know, like, I don't know how to, you know. And so like, it's funny because it was just like really intensified by the trip and everything. I'm just like, fuck, there's so many of us. It's crazy. Like if you weren't one of us and you were seeing this, like what's going on in the mind of anything that's not a fucking human that sees things from this perspective? You know what I mean? Like it was just like a weird thing, you know. Like if this was all a rat's nest, you know, you'd be terrified of it.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy because, you know.
So it didn't make you feel more connected with anybody? It was the complete opposite.
That time, yeah. That time, yeah. But you know, a lot of the other times, like I feel like psychedelics have played a pivotal role in like me getting my fucking head under control, you know, and being able to kind of like feel better, calm down, and focus, maybe be myself a little bit more, and then like relax, like spiritually relax, you know. Because like just like how a lot of people hold tension in their body, I feel like I've just like felt that. I've held massive tension in my brain, you know.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to explain it in like my.
No, that's a good way to explain it.
In just everything that's not my body, you know.
Yeah.
That's me. like has been bound up like really
Right.
bad. And so like experimenting with mushrooms in particular, you know, like other psychedelics do other things, but I feel like mushrooms are like the one that's the one that is also medicine. It's a
Yes.
part, you can party with it, but it's also medicine. Like
Yes.
acid's not really medicine. Acid's just fun.
Yeah. I haven't tried it, but I'll take your word for it.
You know, but yeah, I kind of feel like mushrooms are more like like I said, like a medicine. And I feel like almost every time like there's like some kind of like thought or discovery or some kind of like profound thing that sticks out to me where I go, nah, I'm just tripping, you know. Nah, I'm just
Like you're ignoring these revelations.
like this thing coming up, I'm like, wow, this is fucking crazy, you know. And I'll just like be feeling it for like a long time, you know. I'll like spend several minutes just staring out and just feeling like, oh man, just like this overwhelming sense of awe, and then just like a needle on a balloon, you know. It's just like snap out of it. I'm like, nah, I'm just on drugs, you know. And then,
Well,
but the thing is, like afterwards, you know, when I'm like sober days later, I'll be
Yeah.
thinking about that same thing and go, no, dude, that was right, you know.
Do you feel like the mushrooms helped you rewire your brain to better cope with your experiences with depression? Because there's been so many clinical studies that have said, oh yeah, this person did, a high dose mushroom trip like once or twice and their depression was completely healed. Like, do you think there's
That's
any?
sensational.
Yeah,
That is saying that is like sensational. I feel like that's like saying like I got one massage and I didn't have any back problems anymore.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I feel the same
Like,
way.
no, that's not really what it is. And like the thing with tripping, I like there's a couple different schools of thought on it, and I'm kind of in the vein of like you shouldn't be doing that all the time.
Right.
Definitely not all the time. But you know, so it should be paced out. But like for me, like I've said it a bunch of times, like it's about time to do that again. Like I feel like I need that, you know.
That's
I feel
how I
like I
feel.
need to do that. And then so I always, you know, end up doing that again one way or another. And you know, maybe it's not the most fun way to do it, but like I'm kind of particular about what my surroundings are like. I like to be outside. Being inside and then like or like looking at screens or anything, like kind of irritates me. It's kind of the same feeling of like of looking at the infestation from the top of the mountain.
Right.
You know, where it's like this is wrong for some reason. But I think it's because like I'm trying to go somewhere. I'm trying to like do something, you know, like I'm doing some work right now. And so like this is all like a distraction, and you know, like being reminded of social media or something. So like, man, I don't want to think about that shit right now. Like, I don't like that stuff. Like I don't like where people are at. I don't like all the arguing. Like if I don't want to see an argument right now. Like I'm trying to do some work, you know, in my brain. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, and that makes it sound boring, but I'm like laughing my ass off the whole time. You know, like
Yeah. No, mushrooms are fun. I
feeling like
actually
feeling like the Cheshire Cat or something, you know, fucking super wide-eyed and just laughing my ass off and having a fucking great time. So I just like don't want anything to take away from that. I like being outside. I like being in nature. You know, I feel like I'm reconnecting with like primitive man in that way.
yes.
And like or something similar. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know? Something that we're robbed of in like our modern world that we live in.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm reconnecting with something essential that has been taken away by like a disconnection with the outside, you know. Because like just going outside, like if you walk out of your door, you're not outside, you know, you're still in. You're just not inside a house. You're still in the society. You're still in a city. You're still in all that. So it's like going out to the woods. It almost feels like you're in the real world.
Yes.
you know?
That's why I want to move out. Dude, my lifelong goal is just to be able to work from home or, be self-employed so that I could live in a cabin in the woods to be consistently surrounded by an experience like that, because I too feel immensely disconnected from like who I am meant to be, from the true nature of our existence. You know what I mean? With this whole, all this modern technology just disconnects us from ourselves and our connection to nature. And it's like that primitive thing that you're talking about is one of those things that really makes you feel alive. And I feel like the only way you can tap into that is either through exercise, some type of physical exertion that reminds you to be in your body and to feel your mind body connection, or to go out in nature and feel, walk through the ground fucking barefoot and ground yourself and feel connected to the planet that we fucking came from. And I know that sounds like some hippie woo woo shit, but like, it's so healing, dude. It's so healing. Like, I crave that so much. I was just telling my mom, like, I don't miss California per se, especially not LA, but I miss the mountains, the fucking mountains, dude. The mountain air. It's just so clean and so crisp. And it's just like an entire different fucking universe. And like you're saying, it feels like you're in the real world versus this place that we live in every day that is completely and utterly fake and manufactured and plastic and polluted and filled with egos and people who are disillusioned and not connected within themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So one thing I was gonna say though, with with that whole thing, if I don't just lose my entire train of thought, fuck you, ADD.
You're okay. Don't be self-conscious. I'm sorry I blabbed for so long.
I'm not self-conscious about it. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's like my whole day, every day. Like, shit.
Well, we were talking about mushrooms and how it makes you feel connected to nature when you go out, and you experience this real connection between the earth when you go out to the woods or something like that.
Yeah. Oh well.
Shit.
Totally lost my train of thought. It's gone. That shit wrecked. It just derailed.
Sorry. I'm
Oh, well.
sorry.
No, it's cool.
I got excited about something and I just
No, it's good. It's good.
But oh well, you've done DMT, dude. Tell me about your DMT experience.
Yeah, I met something.
Tell me what you met.
It's funny. So with my friend, I smoked it out of a bong, which I didn't know. Like, I don't know how other people do it. But that's how I did it.
Cool.
And
I don't know. You could do that.
So it's like, he goes, yeah, I'll set it up for you. Hit the thing. We're gonna hit the light. Just lay back. This is the best way I found to have it. He goes, just lay back on the fucking bed and just let it do its thing. It's only gonna be like 5 minutes. Don't worry about it. So I was like, sure. Because I kind of did it on a whim. It was with like a really good friend, but he was like, you want to? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So, I hit the bong. I roll up out of my seat, set it down, hit the light, lay back, and I fucking, and then immediately, like my whole face just, like, I got this like weird tingle, like almost like I was being laid into like warm water,
Yeah.
So it was like comfortable, but like really weird. And then it's kind of like when you see a time lapse of a window freezing, when it's like, all around the edge, the frost kind of creeps in and the whole thing just kind of gets covered. That's what it was like, but with like the fractal patterns.
Whoa.
It all just creeped in and just was whoosh, just like full blast. I'm in the peak of a trip now. Like now. Yeah, just like right away, which is cool. I've only ever done it once, so but it was cool though. I was laying there, and then it just got so intense, and I felt like I was going somewhere, like lifted out of my body, and I was going somewhere else, and I didn't know where it was. So I just said, like kind of in my head was just like, whoa, this is fucking crazy. But like in like I was in awe, I was like, damn, this is fucking cool. And I was just like, just go with it. you know, just lean into it, relax. So I did that, and then I was like, I had this like sensation like I was looking for something. And then that's when I, like, it was kind of then when I realized that I had like lost connection with all of my limbs, you know,
Yeah.
and like, and my body. I was like completely just, I wasn't here anymore. And so like I had to like come back and like move my leg, so I knew that it was still there. Yeah. And it was just like weird, you know, so this complete fucking just disconnection with everything. And then next thing I know, like, so you know those old like 80s things, that those pictures where it's just like a mess until you stare at it long enough and then something pops off, fucking juxtaposed, it pops out, you know?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, you know, or like it was like an Alex Gray painting
Yeah.
where everything's colors and patterns, but then there's like a figure in it, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, here's the whole background, and then there's something that's just kind of like, and you can't focus on it completely. It feels like you're looking past it, you know?
Yeah.
But it was like in my face, and it was like another face. And so I was like laying there, and I like kind of cocked my head. I was like, what the hell is this? And it cocked its head in reaction in the other way. And so it was made out of the fractals and made out of the patterns and colors and everything. So it was just, like I said, it was kind of like one of those 80s pattern pictures. But it looked like a mantis with horns. With like, it looked like a mantis with ram horns.
That sounds pretty fucking metal.
It was fucking cool.
And did it say anything?
No.
What do you think it was? Do you think
it kind of, I don't know what the hell that was. It was crazy though, and I ended up feeling really good for a long time after that. There was like, it's weird. It's almost like, you know, when they say that something like that speaks to you, you know, kind of like whenever anybody talks about like they spoke with God, right?
Yeah.
My whole thing was like, oh yeah, what did he say? And he said this, this, and this. It's like, yeah, God speaks English. That's fucking convenient, you know?
Right.
It doesn't, like, the thing is, like, if I wasn't just on fucking super strong drugs and I was communicating with something, which like maybe, you know?
Yeah.
It didn't communicate in words. It was just like overall, like just like like a more pure understanding, you know?
Yeah. Almost like telepathic or just a sense of knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
That's
it's
what I would
not,
expect.
you can't put it in words. Like that's the
Right.
thing. That's the thing that's so frustrating about it, is that it's like, I can't just be like, yeah. And then it gave me this, you know, I had this like feeling of like comfort that, you know, was like, if I was to put it in words, it's like this almost feeling, this comfort is like, first of all, it was like, where the fuck do you think you're going? You know, like I said, I felt like I was going somewhere and looking for something. Like it's almost like if you do pop into another dimension on that side, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're not supposed to be here, you know? But then there was also this sense of like, no, you're doing good. You're fine. There you are, living your life. Like none of that shit fucking matters anyway. Like, you know, like knowing, like, oh, it's funny, like Lindsay used to left a note that's still in my like rearview mirror, but left it in like the wedge in my window of my car, you know?
Yeah.
Like by like where the little rubber shit is at the bottom.
Yeah.
That said, like, knowing nothing matters makes it sweet to be alive, you know? Which is kind of the overall message that I got from that type of thing. It's kind of like, you know, and that's kind of how I felt ever since, whenever I've like done mushrooms or anything like that. It's like, here we are doing it. This is living. This is what we're supposed to be doing right here. There's not like goals, you know, like there's none of that. Like you could die on your way to them. It doesn't matter. You do that shit to yourself. You put yourself in that fucking box. You know, you're already doing it. You're living life. Here it is. just fucking be, you know, is
Just-
almost kind of, yeah, just exist. Like that's the whole thing. Stop trying to fucking like twist some kind of extra meanings on top of this shit. It's not that complicated. Just be alive, you know. All that shit about like goals and success and like all this other stuff is things that you do to yourself and other people are doing to you. So if you can just like stop giving a shit about what everybody else is trying to put on you, and then like the idea of like living up to other people's expectations, like that's their shit. Like that's their expectation. If they're disappointed by you, then they don't like you because you're you, you know?
Yeah.
You
I think that's fucking beautiful. I think a lot of the time we get so focused on achieving goals and trying to like be somebody, and I am extremely guilty of this, that we just forget to stop and take a deep breath and just be present in the moment and appreciate being alive. And I think a lot of people that have psychedelic experiences or near death experiences are more likely to be able to appreciate individual moments and really be present, you know what I mean? And really,
it wears off though.
what's that?
It wears off though.
Yeah.
That benevolent feeling, you know, from psychedelics, or that like appreciation of life and being able to see color. Oh wow, colors are more bright, vibrant, and like everything seems awesome. Like everything tastes fucking great. Everything's the shit. I love the whole world. Everything's amazing. After like a near-death experience, you know, which I've had, that goes away. You know, it's not just like now everything's different and awesome. Like the highs of that stuff, like they wear off, you know. And so like you're always chasing it, you know, like so like that, you know, I'm sure you've heard it with like the idea of like nirvana, you know.
Yeah.
Like you get a touch of it and then it's gone, you know. You go, oh, and then it's back to normal. And you're like, oh man.
Well, it's probably why you feel like you're ready to trip again. Like I'm ready to have that experience again and to remember that there's more to this life than just going to work from 9 to 5 or whatever schedule and, you know, paying my bills. Like life wasn't meant to just be working and paying bills until you die, you know?
Yeah. And when people judging other people's lives is just them justifying what they're doing
or what they're not doing. Yeah.
But like, you know, being like, oh, I worked my ass off, went all through college, I got a business degree, I did this and that, and I have a Fortune 500 company and blah 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 blah. It sounds like you worked your fucking ass off and you didn't really enjoy it very much.
Exactly.
You know? And it's like you get to do all kinds of like really fucking cool shit that like I'm sure you enjoyed, and you have your highs too, but we all have highs and lows. They're just doing different stuff, and yours sounds really expensive.
Yours sounds really expensive.
You know, that's all I'm saying. It's just like, how are you gonna judge me because I'm poor? Like, just because I don't have things or whatever, you know, like accomplishment and success and all that stuff. That shit's all relative, you know.
Yeah.
And then like judging another person is just putting your expectations on them, which is like a reflection of like your worldview. And so like, and we're all guilty of it all the time, forever. You can't get out of that. Like you're stuck. You're gonna keep judging people and everything. Like I said, like you can only touch this feeling every now and then. But
do you think
and I think that the reason that you can't keep it is because the things that you're doing, you have to be able to preserve them. If you just like don't give a shit, everything's cool, man, whatever, just go with the flow. Like I mean, it's hard to keep shit in check if you act like that all the time, 100% about everything.
Yeah.
So like in order to maintain your lifestyle and then also maintain the expectations of other people and, you know, keep everything going the way that it's supposed to go and maintain your lifestyle, then you can't just like let it go, you know, which is why we can't stay in that benevolent state, I think.
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective. What about something like meditation, or even when you're doing martial arts could be like a form of meditation, right? Do you feel like that could perpetuate that feeling like on a more consistent basis if you were to practice that regularly?
No, it, like that would be maintaining a lifestyle that makes getting those very rare moments still possible, you know?
Okay.
Because like if everything is a tragedy in your life, like everything's all fucked up all the time, like it's hard to touch those moments, you know? Like you
Right.
can't get there, and you're so far from it that like the anguish that you're feeling in the middle of a fucking mental health episode is so far away from those moments of like that moment of nirvana, you know,
Yeah.
that it seems unattainable, like completely fucking impossible to ever feel that way ever again. And you know, like all the bad things that you tell yourself, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, like for I don't know what other people's relationship is with like martial arts or meditation, everything like that. Like I can really only go off of like what I've heard people say, you know, because like I'm not a doctor in any of those things, you know. I'm not an expert, I guess. um but like with meditation, for me, like that shit is so hard to do. I find other ways to get that same thing, like just sitting down quietly. Like I said, I have like the turbo brain.
Yeah.
Where I'm spinning my wheels all the time. Like like my wheels are spinning, like it's like I'm stuck in the mud, and I can barely, I'm trucking along at like kind of a regular speed, but my wheels are just like no traction, just going, and that's how I get along, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like guiding it the whole way. Oh shit. um but see, here we go again.
Well, what if like we were
Oh
saying martial arts?
yeah, so that, I mean, that helps keep me grounded in a lot of ways. It keeps a lot of shit in check, all the frustration in check, like all the aggression and anger, it's all in check, easy,
Good.
you know, like have no problems with it after that. And shit like that. But oh yeah, that's what I was saying, is like, so I find other ways to get what people say that they get through meditation. I find other ways to get that, like so like people who do yoga also meditate, but I kind of do
Yeah.
yoga to meditate, because it's like just enough of something to keep my brain occupied, just enough so I can get to that nowhere, you know,
Yeah.
where I can space out. And it really fucking helps if I smoke a bunch of weed beforehand.
Yeah.
And then I can really get to that spot where I'm just like, this is awesome. But I fall off of my fucking all of my practices all the time, and it's constantly a fucking struggle to fucking keep everything going. Every aspect of everything that I do is just like it's a series of falling off and getting back on, falling off and getting back on, going down the road a little bit and falling back off again, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that people don't talk about. That is a real aspect of everybody who's successful's life.
Yes.
It's like they don't talk about the fact that they fuck it up all the time. You know, everybody's fucking up constantly, you know, and failing all the time. And so like the best way to get to any form of success is to fucking just
Keep failing.
Walk right through failure, like it ain't
Yeah.
shit. Like, so try it again.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the persistence and overcoming failure over and over and over again. Like
Yeah.
that's the only way you can be successful. Like you don't just win. Like you have to fucking try. You have to try, and it's hard, and it takes discipline, and it takes dedication and consistency, and a lot of people don't they think that it just comes easily. Like, yeah, I'll be a millionaire, sure. No, like you have to make a plan and put in the effort and put in the work and accept that you're going to fail 1,000 times before you win that one time. But that one time can be like a life-changing experience that can give you the life that you've always wanted, you know?
Yeah. Well, and setting realistic, small, tiny goals instead of like trying to shoot all the way down the road, because those long shots are called long shots for a reason, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not always our fault where we wind up. You play the fucking hand you're dealt.
Word.
You have the body that you have the fucking childhood that you have whatever kind of chemical imbalances or health problems you have, and then you have whatever kind of surroundings that you have whatever kind of friends that you've had your entire life. A lot of those fuckers can be pretty harmful in a lot of ways that are unintentional and like invisible, you know, for a really long time. And so like you have to like tear the whole foundation up from the fucking bottom over and over, or at least that's how I feel like I've had to live my life. Like that's probably not a good model for other people, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, if it's not like that's a wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's your way to do it.
Because here I am, I'm doing it. This is life. I'm living it. Like, you know, that's like I was saying earlier. It's like, this is it, dude. Like, there's nothing more. Like, you know, expectations are fucking painful. Like, that's the whole thing about like Buddhism and everything. Like, all the pain is caused by want. You know, I just like want things to be different. They're not though. So eat what's on your plate.
Eat what's on your plate.
You know,
I like that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. But at the same time, like for me, like there's still so much shit I fucking need to work through. Like it's just kind of interesting because like I still, you know, even though I'm just like saying all this shit, like this is all stuff that I could say out loud, and I know like, oh yeah, this is the way, but I like don't live like that. You know, it's like nobody lives like that. I don't think. At least I like wish I could live like that. But you know, one of the things that I can that's like hard for me is like the fear of like being seen and being judged and being known. Like it's weird. Like I have like a weird twist on that, which like doesn't make any sense because I like getting on stage in front of people.
Right.
And I like being loud and fucking and crazy where I'm being seen, and I'll just like act like an idiot because I don't care, you know?
Yeah.
But the second I have any kind of like feeling of that not care, it's like all or nothing, you know?
Right.
Where it's like I like to go nuts like that because like I don't know all of you and I don't have to answer to this. I don't have to answer to none of this. It's cool. It's like a weird freedom. Like I don't give a shit what you think about it. I don't care. Like, you know, you can judge me all day. Like I don't give a shit, you know? But then the second any of that shit creeps in, it's like crippling, like all the way down, like buried by it, you know? And like I was like, that's when I fucking get quiet and weird. And then I'm just like, oh God, I wish I didn't want you to like me. I actually, I hate you because I want you to like me.
But that's something that not a lot of people want to admit.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that fucking I still struggle with all the fucking time. It's just
like I hate you because I secretly don't like this thing about myself.
Maybe like it's probably something to do with that, but it's like if I'm not just like friends with somebody, and then it's like if it's not easy and there's like some kind of like struggle that fucking causes that, then I'm like, fuck that person, dude. They're frustrating. They frustrate the shit out of me. I don't like being around them, but I have to all the time, and it's always awkward forever, and I can't get past this, and I don't know whose fault it is. Like even if it's mine, I don't care. Like I don't want to be around this person anymore. But then like, you know, life has a way of putting you around people like that, And so then you have to just deal with it.
Yeah, or you could be like me and just cut everybody out completely and then bitch about being alone later.
No.
Well, I mean, do you have any are you ready to wrap things up a little bit? Because we've been going for a while now. Is there anything else anything else you'd like to bring up? Is
Not
there
really.
is there any like advice you could maybe give people that might be going through similar struggles?
Yeah. Yeah, there is something. So if everything seems like it's really hard and that like shit's not gonna fucking get good again, everything's super fucking difficult, nothing seems like it's gonna turn around right, nothing has gone right, and then like you're on your own ass about your entire history of your whole life, and then like you're stressing about like success or like where your place is in like socially or economically or whatever else like that. Like there's only one thing that you can do, and it's like sounds corny, but it's like keep going. Keeping going is easy. It's literally the only thing that you can do. You can't not keep going. So when you do that, like you gotta like set an intention for what you're gonna do when you keep going. And give yourself enough space to fucking regroup and get your feet back underneath you, but you got to keep going. That's the only thing. It's like, what else are you gonna do? There's like literally nothing else to do but exist, so you got to do it.
Right.
It's the only thing you can do. You can do that or you cannot exist. That's not doing something. That's not keeping going. Keeping going is the only thing. And so like everything that's gonna be hard about keeping going has nothing to do with keeping going.
Like Joe Dirt said, you just got to keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've always thought that was like a cheesy quote, but I totally like live by it.
Yeah, I got the poo on me.
Dude, I really appreciate you. Thank you. Like, thank you
Yeah, no
so
problem.
much. Thank you so much for like doing this with me. I know it's it can be kind of scary and daunting for a lot of people. I mean, even for myself,
Yeah. There's so many people who know me that don't know a lot of that shit that I was just saying.
Right. I mean,
I don't like talking about myself. It hurts. You know what I mean? Like, it's just uncomfortable. I feel like I'm doing something wrong, or like I'm like making people listen to it, or I don't know what it is, but it's
nah, man. Think of it this way. The people that are going to click on this are people that need to listen to it. They need someone to relate to. They need someone that has similar struggles and experiences that are so completely, utterly debilitating. Sometimes they feel like they can't keep going. And sometimes they just need to be told, yeah, it's okay to fuck up. It's okay to feel like you haven't lived up to your highest potential. You just got to keep fucking going, And I feel like I always kind of want to wrap these up with some sort of like positive motivation, I guess. And I feel like that, you're just talking about the persistence of strength and how you can get through it. Whatever you're going through, you can get through it. And you're still here. You've been through a lot. You've been through a lot of fucking shit. And to me, that's just like, as someone that's been your friend for a long time, that's just like an example of how strong you are. I think you're an incredible and incredibly resilient human being.
Thanks.
Like you really gotta recognize that strength within yourself, dude. Like I really think you're fucking awesome. I'm so grateful to like call you my friend. Like you're so fucking wise. Like I'm sure you don't know it, but you're so fucking wise, And I feel like if you could just see that in your fucking reflection and reach into that and tap into it and hang on to it, you could use that as a gift to like teach people how to be strong,
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, you're so welcome. So are there any, like, I know you're not currently playing with your bands, but is there anything that you would want to plug, or do you think maybe after the whole COVID thing, you guys will pick back up again? Any music you'd like to share that you've created personally just for yourself that I could plug in here?
Not yet. I don't
Okay.
know what the future. I don't know what the future holds for either of those bands as it stands right now. But I mean, we'll just have to see about how everybody regroups when things start to fucking get back to some kind of normalcy. You know, it's like it's complicated with both of them. One of them, you know, has a lot of members. Well, they both kind of have a lot of members. One of them has a lot of members, and there's like a lot of stuff going on there. And then the other one, like, I don't know how fast they're gonna want to get back to it. You know, there's a lot of people. They got a lot of stuff going on over there. But I have like, I could do this like 100 times on my on my phone. Like I have like recordings that are like about a minute long. Like I could just do this for days on it. Like I have so much stuff. So I've been in talks with some people about getting some other shit started, but there's nothing. You know, that's just basically a long-winded way of saying no.
Okay, well, that's fine. That's totally fine. I mean, given the current state of the world, that is totally acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to ask as a courtesy anyway. But yeah, thank you again so much for being on here. And thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your support. And thank you so much for listening to our episode. I'm going to quit recording now.